Well, hi. Today is Friday, September 12th, 2025. I'm Todd Studer, and this is Morning Coffee. We've made it all the way to the weekend. I'm going to, when I finish the show today, I'm going to get on the road and head over to Neola. As I mentioned at an earlier show, I am on the board for NAMI Southwest Iowa, and we have a board retreat today. So we'll be over and discussing everything that NAMI is going to be doing, and I'm going to cross my fingers. Maybe I can talk somebody into doing an interview with me while I'm there and bring it to you on Monday's show. Well, yesterday was Patriots Day on September 11th, of course, the anniversary of the World Trade Center attack back in 2001. And we bring our old buddy Travis Waldstein in today to talk about his memories of where he was when it happened. And also, we're going to talk a little bit about what's been happening this week, of course, with the death of Charlie Kirk by some being shot in Utah, and just tough conversations, but things that need to be talked about, and we need to remember and not shy away from them. That's the problem, is that we've forgotten how to talk to each other. We've lost that ability on how to have reasonable discourse and to disagree without thinking that someone else is the devil. And it's gotten pretty bad. And Travis and I talk about that today. It's all part of his 100th episode of his podcast, Circle of Trades, and an episode that will be released very, very soon. So you'll be able to watch even more of that conversation. But I'm going to bring you a portion of that today, just because it's timely of what's going on in our country right now, and especially with the anniversary yesterday of September 11th. So Travis Waldstein back again with us today on Morning Coffee. Navigating the healthcare system is challenging, it's frustrating, and it's time-consuming for you and your family. That's where MyNurse Healthcare steps in. Nurse advocates providing one-on-one guidance and support every step of the way. With a dedicated nurse by your side, you're going to get the right care from the right provider at the right time. Visit mynursehealthcare.com and let them take the stress out of healthcare. And technology should work for you, not against you. At ThinkSpace IT, they provide expert IT solutions to keep your business running smoothly and securely. From cybersecurity and cloud services to network management and tech support, they simplify IT so you can focus on what matters most. Stay protected, stay connected, stay ahead. Visit ThinkSpaceIT.com. All right, let's jump into our conversation with Travis Waldstein, and he's talking about where he was on that day, September 11th, 2001.
That 2001, we tried moving back to Spencer first summer, and I was actually at Denny and Linda Adams' house, and they live in rural Webb, Iowa, and they were a quarter mile from my old original farmstead where my parents owned. So they knew me from the time I was 2 years old or whatever. So, and literally I'm there fixing their furnace, and she yelled at me, "Hey, the World Trade Center got hit." It's like, what? So I go upstairs and going on. Then a few minutes later, the other building got hit. It's like, well, that was not an accident, obviously. And, the chaos. And at that time, the Clay County Fair was going on. And, my wife was actually working down here at Jenny on the weekends, and she came home, and Harley and Hayden were 3 years old at that time. And I'll never forget, we went to the Clay County Fair that night. And, Clay County Fair usually has between 10,000 and 20,000 people a day. I mean, it's the biggest county fair, around, I think in the county fair that's biggest in the country. And it's right there, the biggest state fairs in the country. And you walked around and there wasn't 100 people out there. I mean, I remember walking, it was bare. And, didn't know who, what, where, and that changed everything, for God, a decade plus. I mean, we're still dealing with the ramifications of September 11th and how it changed and affected the country, affected the presidency, and 3,000 people lost their life that day. And unfortunately, yeah, it was a much different time than it was today. I mean, social media wasn't what it was. I mean, it was out there. Yeah, it was
I
just,
think MySpace was just coming on back
yeah.
then.
Yeah, there was. You didn't have Facebook, you didn't have Instagram, you
Hmm.
didn't have X, you didn't have any of that stuff out there. So basically, yeah, you're watching CNN or NBC or Fox or whatever your station of choice was, and that's that's how we got the news. And yeah, it was. I won't say a simpler time because that was really a time for transition in our country. I remember it, plain as day. And you kind of fast forward to the events today. Obviously, there's a lot of memorials. I know I drove through. I was up in Avoca this morning. Stopped at Radberry's in Avoca, grabbed lunch. It was excellent, by the way. Um, you got a bakery and stuff on the south end of the main street there in Avoca. Um, but come back through Carson, there was all these American flags. I didn't even think about being Patriots Day, it's September 11th, but there's flags in town, and now flags are at half staff because what happened with Charlie Kirk yesterday, and it just, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. The world is getting crazier, and it seems like you know, I sit here in one hand as a business owner and trying to bring people into the trades and start careers and spend money on training and trying to help younger people get into a better space, whether in the trades or not in the trades. And we talk about, what we do and our services we offer. But then, there's you got to remember there's a human side to everything. Um, yeah. And, the events of yesterday probably helped today hit home a little bit more. And it's like, you know, we try to promote these stuff, but then at the same time, we'll spend hours on social media tearing each other down. And, the right's bad, the left's bad, this sucks, and nobody wants to put a commitment or feeling down there because you might alienate half the country. Well, guess what? You're going to alienate half the country no matter what you think. So, um, you know, and I kind of, after everything's happened yesterday and this morning, thing about it's like, you know, why do we have to be so negative? Now, I love to give Husker fans a bad time. Everybody knows that. So, um, and I get sometimes I get great joy in doing it, but you know, it is tease and half fun, whatever. But I just, I'm having a hard time. It's like, that didn't need to happen. There was a school, another school shooting here recently. You keep hearing about this stuff. You get people that are going on social media and say, I hate this and I hate that. And, then you get 10,000 people going and, basically, demolishing the person's career. And it's like, or livelihood. I'm like, is that what we're going to as a society? Is that, we're just gonna ruin somebody if they have an opinion that doesn't agree with me. We're gonna ruin somebody because they have a different set of values than what I do. Are we gonna this our country was not founded like that. I think the spirit of this country is that we have individualism, we have freedoms, we have creativity, but we spend so much time worried about the sound bites, and and if you have a conviction, you're polarizing. Well, I'm really having a hard time putting my hand around where I feel the country's at this point. And you mean we're talking beforehand. I've got some concern. I not only as a business owner and the employees that I got. I'm always worried about that in jobs, but not as a country, but as a society where we're at. And I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on. I mean, it's I don't know. We've it's a mess, and you know, how much more, how much more of this is going to happen before it turns into, civil war or martial law or, some crazy stuff. I just, and, whether you're for guns or against guns, I just, can't we do better? That's what I woke up saying this morning. Thinking, what can we not do better as a society than what we've been doing the last few years? Why why can't a guy go out and have a debate on a college and have with a friend 5,000 students and not worry about getting shot at? why does the president of the United States have to go out to, have to have extra security in Pennsylvania because someone tried to shoot his ear off? Why should we have to worry about our kids going to school because someone's going to cyberbully them to death, or talk negative about them? Why? You talked a little bit about homelessness earlier. Why is human trafficking such a thing in this country? And you're just like, for all the good, there's a lot of bad. And it's like, I'd like to think good's going to prevail, but there's some days that just make you wonder, and I don't know. That's where my thoughts at for today, Todd. It's like, we can do better. I don't care if you're religious or not religious. Anybody that knows me, I believe there, if you're a religious person, that's fine. That's great. I'm not the most religious person out there. I respect anybody that does, and I 100% support your right to be able to be that way. But, I think it's more than religion. You just got so many things pulling at people and so many side venues where you could get pulled off to. And to me is, can we be decent and civil and get along? I just, and be better as a society. I just really kind of shake my head, and it kind of makes me wonder about where we're going as a country today. So, I mean, it's kind of a somber deal for Set 100, but it got me wondering today. And my whole thing was, you know what? I'm sad about the events the last couple of days, but let's try to have a positive day today.
You have known me now for several years. We've sat and we've done a lot of interviews. I've interviewed you. You've actually interviewed me. Yes. We've gone back and forth. You know how I feel about politics and how I avoid it publicly.
Yeah. Until I drag you into it. It's all good. It's all good. So.
Exactly. However, and I don't think this is really a political statement as more a societal statement, that I personally am going to point the finger a couple of different directions here. Number one, I'm going to point it at these algorithms that have been built on social media and online and everything else, whether it be the feed that you get from Google News or whatever, because it's going to keep sending you things it believes you want to see. And these algorithms are very, very sophisticated. Yeah. So what ends up happening is we all live in an echo chamber. We all hear and see the same things that already align with what it is that we think we know. So that in our own minds confirms what we believe that we know. And that is where the division is coming from. That is why we have such polarizing opinions that both sides are 100% convinced they are right, because that's all that they are seeing. They're not being exposed to differing opinions or a respectful opinion. The other thing is the media. And I don't care what media outlet you want to watch, they're all doing it. Yeah. Because what they have discovered is that outrage and divisiveness equals clicks, equals views, and equals more ad revenue. Listen, I'm sorry. I know that the right wants to say that MSNBC is trying to change the culture to the left. No, they're not. They're trying to make money off of you. Same with Fox going to the right. They want to make money off of you. And that is what everyone is falling for. And because they live in this echo chamber all the time, they think that they are right. Mm-hmm. And then once that happens, then you start to think like this apparently young man who is, as we are talking, is being chased by authorities for shooting Charlie Kirk. I 100% believed that he was right in doing what he did for the greater society good. Yeah. Because he lived in that echo chamber and because the media pushed that out there all the time, and the algorithms online pushed that out there and kept him seeing the same thing over and over again. What's the answer? I don't know, because it's still unregulated. The internet and what is put out there, I mean, Elon Musk bought Twitter, changed it to X so it could be a completely free form. And I understand people's freedoms. But if the algorithm is attached to that, and that's all that you see, now you believe that this is what's right because you keep getting confirmed with that. And the next thing you know, it starts to breed violence. And I am I'm tired.
Yeah,
I'm just so tired.
Here's what everybody forgets. There's a couple things everybody forgets, and this is three things that I thought about. Everybody always talks about their rights. I have rights. I got rights. Okay, what about your responsibility? I mean, everybody talks about their rights, but I spend thousands and thousands of dollars a year in liability insurance. So that way, if something happens, if we blow up something or if we hit something or whatever, that I'm covered, I'm not going to lose everything if that makes sense. So, so that is something, that happens. So that's number one. Number two, and you're seeing this more in, my kids start getting exposed to it. I mean, when you've got, and I'm not against, I'm a big sports buff. I love football. I don't love baseball as much as too. I love wrestling, but used to be that families would come home. And I'm not saying every family, but most families would come home and there would be time at the dinner table each day to where, you were a family, if that makes sense. You sat down as a family. That doesn't happen today. It does not happen like it used to. Now, you don't have the daily sit down at supper time or breakfast time, whatever it is, to kind of discuss the issues that are going on. And I think that, and, right, wrong, and different, I think, I'm not saying it was that way for her, but I do think, that is an issue. That we don't speak.
As I'd mentioned earlier, that conversation, part of a larger talk that Travis and I had as his 100th episode of his podcast, Circle of Trades. I'll let you know when that is released. It's going to be next week. And you'll be able to hear everything that we talked about. And again, tough conversations, but I think important conversations to have. Tomorrow is the day. It's the Bizarre Bazaar returning to the Mile Away, Old Lincoln Highway, just north of Council Bluffs. And it's going on tomorrow from 11 to 5. A lot of vendors going to be there, eclectic mix of handcrafted goods, vintage treasures, artistic creations, all kinds of stuff. Grab a bite to eat, something to drink. Walk around at the Mile Away and take a look at the Bizarre Bazaar. And what you should really do is plan on sticking around till tomorrow night when the Hawkeyes kick off at 6:30, taking on UMass. And it's going to be a big time and good time at the Mile Away for that too. So I'm planning on heading out there tomorrow, and maybe I'll see you there at the Bizarre Bazaar. Old Lincoln Highway, it is at the Mile Away, just north of Council Bluffs. S&B Country Kennel has an event coming up on September 20th. It's their end of summer bash, and we hope that you'll head on out there, part of a fundraiser. And it's all to support the nonprofit that Joe has going on there. S&B Country Kennel is the top spot in Southwest Iowa when you need to know your dog will receive only the best. Boarding, daycare, grooming, self-washing, training, and even a membership available to a dog park that's over an acre in size. Follow them on social media, and you can see that dog park and just how happy all of the dogs are to be running around out there. S&B Country Kennel, located just west of I-29 on Bungie Avenue, south of Council Bluffs. sbcountrykennel.com is their website. That's country, spelled with a K. We've made it to the end of the week. Thank you so much for being a part of things this week, and I'm looking forward to, well, it looks to be a rather warm weekend, and then we'll get back to it at the start of the new week. My name's Todd Studer, and we'll see you here Monday morning.